This is my 91 Nissan 300ZX. Had a few requests from guys to do a tutorial video on how to install these courtesy lights. I already did on my driver's side door and figured it all out. I'm going to do it on the passenger side and show you guys how. This is what you're going to need. A drill, a hole saw bit that comes in the package with the courtesy lights. Some drill bits, some wrenches. You really only need a 14mm. Some vampire clips. You can do it without these, but it's a lot more difficult. Phillips and flathead screwdriver, some wire strippers, and a box knife or some other really sharp knife. A piece of coat hanger, and 9-volt battery, and some duct tape. Take off the door panel. There's going to be a bunch of Phillips head screws. There's one here, one here. There's these little plastic things here that you have to kind of pop out. And there's one in there, and another one down in here. And then there's two down here underneath this seat belt thing. And one here behind the seat belt, two here on the end of the door. And then there's going to be a bolt right here underneath this cap. You just pop that off with a flathead screwdriver. More inside of this little piece just kind of pops off with a flathead, and there's a Phillips up in there. All the screws out I showed you. This just kind of lifts out once you get those two screws undone. Then this, the window button just kind of pries out, and there's a electric snap right here. Just gotta push that button and unplug that, and then the door handle cover thing comes out. You just have to kind of gently pry from behind it with a flathead. And once you get it broke loose, make sure you pull the door handle all the way open and it'll just slide off. Then there's just one more screw right here behind the door handle. It's a Phillips head. Let me go ahead and pull that out. And then here on the seat belt, I undid the two screws underneath it, and this just kind of pops out. I undid this bolt. This bolt just goes up here. It's a 14mm. And this piece here just kind of comes off. It was held on by those three screws. And this plastic piece here lifts out. You just kind of let that hang on the seat belt. This front piece, the top piece here on the door, after you undo the screw on the front and the bolt there, just kind of snaps off. You take that panel off the top. There's these two screws here. Gotta come out. Then from there, everything's just stuck on with these little white plastic snaps. They're pretty gay, but you just gotta gently go around the perimeter of the door, just kind of tugging on it. And everything should fall off in your hand. Then here on the end where the seat belt is, there's a little slot cut through the door. You just weave the seat belt through that, and it'll disconnect from the door. And then you have your panel off. Next, we're going to mount the actual light inside of the door panel. You're going to need a box knife or some form of really sharp knife and a drill. Most of these come with a hole saw that's the right size. On the bottom side of your door panel, you need to pick where you want to put the hole. I did it exactly halfway between these 2 points, and it worked pretty good on the driver's side. Something I suggest, I did not do it on the driver's side, but it ended up looking terrible and getting stuff frayed everywhere, is cut a little box out a little larger than what you're going to have to drill out of your carpet if you have a carpet door, and glue the edges down with something, and then just drill out that hole. You're gonna just unstring all this wire on here and take the little backing screw off the back of the light. Just pull it on off. Then just run this wire up into the door panel where you cut your hole. Make sure it's set in there pretty good. If you have pieces of carpet underneath it, the backing screw won't stick through far enough for the threads for the backing screw. Just go ahead and get it put on there. Don't do it too tight because you still have to adjust which direction your little emblem is pointing. For this one, you're going to want to prop your door panel up on something where the light is shining on the ground on a clear spot. I just used 2 ice chests. You're also going to need a 9-volt battery. And going to use a 9-volt, and just make sure you get the positive and negative right on the 9-volt. The fat side is your negative, which is your black wire. Just touch those two together, and it'll make your little emblem shine up on the ground. And then you're going to need to twist it left and right, or clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever, to set it for however you want it. Like I said before, I did mine parallel with my door panel. That works good. Then just tighten down your backing screw, and then on the backing screw, let me grab that light. On the backing screw, there's a little set screw. So once you get your backing screw tight on the actual socket, tighten up that little set screw on the backing plate. The window needs to be up for the next step, so just plug the window switch back up and roll it up. Now we're going to start working on running the wire through the door to the cabin. Excuse my messy floorboard. Most cars you can just wire into the door light, but 300ZX's, at least mine, does not have a door light, so you have to run through this little rubber boot here. The best way that I found to do this is to just pull the top here and the bottom here. It's almost like a rubber socket. You just pull it away from the door and the car, and take a stiff piece of metal like I used a coat hanger, and run through it, and then tape the wire to the end of the coat hanger with something strong like duct tape. You don't want it to come off halfway through, and pull it through. This is what it's going to look like when you get done. I just took a coat hanger and stuck it up through there. You may need to use some grease or something to help it slide through if your boot's real old and catching the metal. Next, you're going to want to take the speaker box out of the door. There's 4 screws and that electrical socket here holding it in. There's 1 screw here at the top, and there's 1 here on the left, 1 over here on the right, and then there's 1 in this hole here at the back. And just pull out your plug, and it'll all just kind of come out. Next, you need to find a way to get the wire inside of the door. I used this hole here. You may have to use a drill bit to open it up large enough for this. I assume this is a fuse to make it fit. Once you've got that run, you're going to need to take the wire and run it behind this bracket here. That's for the window, so make sure that you don't go in front of it, or you will interfere with your window going up and down. Then you're going to run it through that hole in the door there where the boot is. It's going to come out over here on this side, and then we can go ahead and tape it to our hanger there and get our wire run through the boot. I went ahead and got that run through there and taped up to the other side of our hanger here. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like on the inside. Run behind the bracket there through that hole. I went ahead and taped it up with some duct tape on the inside here, up in here to the hole, so that it's not rattling around while I'm driving. And we can go ahead and get the top of our hanger and pull our wire up through the boot. I lost my light. And there she blows. The wire's stuck through the top of the the boot there. And we're going to go ahead and run it into the cabin through that hole. I ended up having to take my kick panel off and the little piece of molding that goes there underneath the glove box. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. It's pretty simple. It's just one screw and a bunch of little plastic snaps. Next, you're going to want to take a few vampire snaps. They just clamp down on either side of a wire and let you tie into it without having to cut up and expose the wire. You're going to put one on the positive and ground for your floorboard light. That's what we're going to tie the courtesy light into. So just go ahead and stick one on each one of those. Next, you're going to want to wire the other end of these little vampire clips in. They just kind of crimp on the end. Make sure you cut the wire the right length. I forgot about having to put the kick panel back in and cut mine too short and had to splice more onto it. Looks like crap now. This one's already plugged in here. And get that to focus. Go ahead and plug this one in. And our little lights should come on. I went ahead and put my kick panel back in and stuck the boots back in on the sockets back in on the rubber boots. Put the speaker back in, plugged the little wire back up, took the the window switch off, and ran the seat belt back through the door. One more thing, be very careful with these little plastic deals. They break really easy, and your door rattles if you don't have at least most of them. Okay, so the difference between the driver and passenger side door, instead of having that handle there, you have this longer switch panel, and there's a little piece of carpet down here in the bottom of it. You can just pop it up with a knife. It's got a little bit of adhesive on the back. Some of them just have a plastic snap piece that you just pop out. Once you undo, there's two screws. You can't see because of the shadow, but once you do undo those two screws, the whole panel will pop out just like the other side, and from there it's exactly the same. And this is what it should look like when you're done. It's the driver's side door. It's my custom sub box. Pretty proud of that. Made it myself. And here is the passenger door.